All right, so this is Let Us Interrupt You, episode 100. We've now reached 100 episodes on this podcast if no one's been paying attention. And to those who are joining us for the first time, subscribing to the first time, well, you're going to get a real chance to watch the 100th episode 100 of Let Us Interrupt You here on Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. I am Joseph Olivo. No Mike today. Unfortunately, I told Mike today to take the day off. He wasn't going to be able to make it anyway. And I have work tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I figured I'd record this now, get it out of the way. And plus, I don't know how long it's going to rain till today. He's got a project he's working on. So realistically, he was never going to make it today anyway. I didn't want him to rush. I didn't want him to stress himself out over the whole project that he's working on today. It's separated from the podcast, but I didn't want him to cancel his plans, mess it all up. And realistically, I just didn't feel like driving him. I'm just going to be honest. No offense. I don't drive the kid at all today. I didn't feel like doing it. So, yeah, I was at the Bills-Patriots game Thursday night. Unfortunately, it was not a good finish to that game. I am wearing a Buffalo Bill hat. Not a Buffalo Bill diehard fan per se, but I do like one of their hats, the snapback hat. So come at me, bro. If you don't like the hat, come at me. I went with my cousin Michael. Yes, I know another person named Michael. It's believe me, it's. I know a lot of Michaels. I know a lot of Mikes. I know a lot of Joes. I know a lot of there's tons of people I know that are named Mike. So, but this one was my cousin who has never been to a Patriot game with me. This is one of his first times going with me, as cousins would go. Normally do certain things together. This was one of those things where I made a promise to him. You know, we got to the game. We got a hotel. Spent overnight. After the game, though, I will say this though about Patriots Place, and this is a tip for Patriots Place out there: keep your places open past 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't see why you can't do that, especially if you have fans leaving for the game. At that point, you wouldn't have to worry about the traffic jam. You wouldn't have to worry about keeping cops out there overnight, unless this is an excuse for cops to do the graveyard shifts and end their security shifts early. But having 2 bars open in a plaza like that is just really sad, if you ask me. I thought that was kind of pathetic that they never kept the actual place open. And really they should have, because I think it was kind of pointless that they didn't do that. The game, though, itself, it looked promising for Mac Jones. It looked like he was going to have a breakout game. He had a 48-yard pass to Marcus Jones, the hero for week 11 against the Jets. But in this case here, it didn't matter. I mean, that was the only best offensive player in the field, I thought, besides and that's the sad part of the whole thing. Your defensive back leads in receiving yards. That's a problem. That's a problem right there in a nutshell. He had 2 catches for 51 yards. He had the only touchdown scored in the game, really, that was thrown by Mac Jones. Mac Jones finished the game with 22 for 36, 195 yards and a touchdown. I'm going to quickly recap this for you. It was 7-3. Stephon Diggs got an 8-yard touchdown pass. Next possession for the Bills, they scored another touchdown. Actually, I think it was 2 possessions after that. They scored another touchdown. 8-yard pass to Gabe Davis, makes it 17-7. And late in the fourth quarter, Singletary ran in for 1 yard out. Nick Folk tried to go for a 39 field goal. He didn't get it late in the fourth, and that was the end of the game. Josh Allen went 22 for 33, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 1 fumble loss. He was sacked a couple of times. Sacked by Josh Uche. Juwan got the fumble recovery. Diggs had 7 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah McKenzie had 5 catches for 44 yards. James Cook had 6 catches for 40. McKenzie had 44 yards receiving. James Cook had 41 yards receiving. Hines got 1 catch for 21 yards. Gabe Davis had 2 catches for 15 yards and a touchdown. Shakir had 1 catch for 10 yards. Knox didn't really get targeted a lot in this game. Neither did Singletary. But yeah, this was a game where the Bills practically owned the Patriots. They owned them. They came into our territory. They sent a message. They got me to join their little cult. Not really. I do like the hat, though. I got this hat last year, actually, when I was out in Buffalo when they played Indianapolis, and I actually rooted against the Bills in that game. I was messing with the Bills fans, too, so it was kind of fun. But yeah, this game was no good. Mac Jones was seen during the game yelling expletives towards Matt Patricia, saying our effing running game sucks. Effing pass the ball. It was not a good night for Mac Jones. And kudos to Mac Jones for trying to make an effort out of it. They had him throwing 36 times, in a cold December game against the Bills, against their defense. And now, granted, the defense was not healthy going into that game. They weren't 100%. There really wasn't a lot of turnovers in the game per se for New England. This is probably the first game I could think of right now that they actually didn't turn the ball over once and still lost the game. Mac, I thought this game was not in his right frame of mind. The rush attack was not great. Stevenson had 10 carries for 54 yards. There came a time where I said to myself, like, they only had 14 plays on the run, and it just wasn't working out. It really was not working out at all. To have really Myers not do much of anything, Aguilar not do much of anything, Parker not do much of anything, they were all disappointments here. Kendrick Bourne had one catch for 15 yards. That was during garbage time. Hunter Henry had a couple of catches. He was targeted over 5 times in the game. Stevenson had 6 catches for 24 yards. That's a sad state right there, is to have Jones and Stevenson combined for your receiving yards for 8 catches for 75 yards and really 1 touchdown coming out of it, and that was on a screenplay. Marcus Jones should have been a running back. That's my take on the whole thing. I don't know why he was drafted as a defensive back. I don't know why he was considered a defensive back out in Houston. I didn't see him do a lot in Houston anyway. That screamed out he was a defensive back. I think he was a special teams defensive back, but he was never a cover kind of guy. And I think realistically, they should have had Marcus Jones as a running back. He's got the size of a running back. He's small enough to be a running back in that backfield. And at the same time, he could be a good wide receiver. I mean, there's proof right now he's got good hands. I mean, if you can catch a 48-yard screen pass play and score that for a touchdown, I mean, you're doing something right. This game overall proves that the Patriots will not make the playoffs this year. I'm sorry to say it, they just won't make the playoffs. They're not a good enough team. They don't have a good enough offense that can lead them to a deep run in the playoffs. Their defense is great. The problem is that against tough teams, they have a hard time and they get tired very easily. It's just the way it is. I look at that and I think it's so obvious at this point that that's all there is to it. It's not going to really matter at that point. So, yeah, I just think that was a bad game overall. So I'll give you my Week 13 preview picks. Starting off the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears. I'm taking the Green Bay Packers here, even though David Bakari is out. Will not be playing in the game. I think Chicago's got no shot here of winning this game. Aaron Rodgers has owned the Bears, even though Justin Fields can go off in this game and get 190 yards rushing, which I expect. I just think this game will be a close divisional win for Aaron Rodgers, a nice game-clinching, game-winning drive because Chicago doesn't have much of a defense anyway. Their secondary is completely shot. And their rush attack is actually better than Green Bay's, but you're dealing with Aaron Rodgers at this point with a broken thumb. Got nothing to lose at this point. They're not a playoff team. Chicago's just trying to get the coach fired. So what's the sense, Denver Broncos, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens. Lamar Jackson will go off in this game. Denver's got no sense of winning this game at all. Russell Wilson's got a bad offensive line. Even though the Ravens have a meh defense, you can't do much of anything when you have a bad offensive line, and especially when you only scored 10 points last week against the Carolina Panthers. You really think I'm going to go with the Broncos here of all teams to beat Lamar Jackson in their place? No, it's not going to happen. Steelers-Falcons, I'm picking Pittsburgh here. I think Kenny Pickett right now is starting to find his groove a little bit at this point. TJ Watt is back with the Steelers, back in action. He's badass. He's been back in action now for a couple of weeks, but he's back to his old form, so it's not like he's in bad shape, really. Really, honestly, the Steelers needed him back. I mean, they needed this guy back for sure. There was no reason to keep him out any longer. The Falcons are a useless football team. They're for whatever reason not going to go with Desmond Ridder, even though he's the most obvious choice to take the job over Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota, who's got no arm. He's got legs, but he's not as fast as Justin Fields. Hell, he's not even as fast as Jameis Winston. let's be realistic here. Out of the two, I'd say Winston is probably faster than Marcus Mariota, and Marcus Mariota is a running quarterback more than Jameis Winston is. So I think Marcus Mariota will have a hard time in this game. He'll get sacked 7 times. And TJ Watt will get 3 of those sacks. And I think Cam Hayward will get involved in the whole thing too, making a slaughter. And I think this Pittsburgh Steelers get the win here. I think they win 24-3. I just think realistically that's going to be the score of this game. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Detroit Lions. I'm going with the Jaguars right now. The Trevor Lawrence show is coming alive. Doug Peterson at this point is not a fraudulent head coach. Yes, they're struggling this season. However, it's kind of because of the fact right now of the schedule they've had this year, which has not been too kind to them at all. And there's probably some games they should have won, like the game against Denver. They should have beaten the Broncos, but in reality, they didn't. But yeah, I'm going with the Jaguars to win. Detroit, as good as they are, I mean, and they got Jared Goff back there. You got Amora St. Brown. You're still missing the loss of TJ Hawkinson hurt you guys. There was no reason for you guys to trade him away unless he was trying to get out of Detroit, which I've heard no sign he was getting out of there, but he's been good since he's been traded to Minnesota several weeks ago. So you have and really the only thing you got going on is your rush attack with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Other than that, you don't have much of anything else going on. This is gonna be a break again for Trevor Lawrence. I think he gets 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. This is gonna turn into a duel. I mean, realistically, this is gonna be a duel. There's not gonna be any defense played in this game at all whatsoever. But I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna outshine Jared Goff in Detroit. That's how I see it. Jets at the Vikings in Minnesota. Jets are coming in 7-4. The Minnesota Vikings are 9-2. I'm gonna go with the Vikings. They're at home. I think the Jets defense at this point is going to prove of why they are fraudulent. I don't believe in this Jet team at all whatsoever. I think it's going to be a testament right now of seeing what Mike White can still do here in a game against this Viking defense. It's going to be a tightly contested battle here at the end of the day, but I think the defense, struggles trying to stop Dalvin Cook. I think Justin Jefferson has a breakout game against Sauce Gardner. I think this is where Justin Jefferson exposes another great defensive back. That's it. I think the Vikings get the win in this game very easily. Commanders at the Giants. I'm going with the Washington Commanders. They're going to be emotional after the fact that they embarrassed Sean Taylor again and screwed up his ceremony last weekend. And it's a division battle here. I think you're going to go against a very, I would say, overconfident Giant team that's well rested here. Daniel Jones is a fraudulent quarterback for this team. Their run they've been on right now has been impressive, but I just think right now, realistically, with what Washington's got going on, they got Chase Young back. It seems like now he ain't going to be out this weekend again. If he is, I'll be shocked, but I don't think they'll lose regardless of that. I think they'll win in spite of Chase Young either coming back or not coming back. I don't know what the story latest is on that, but they are favored on the road in New York. It's a tough game for the Giants to handle this point. And I think realistically, it's going to be one of those losses where it starts a kind of a downfall, really. Not majorly as the Jets that we'll have pretty soon, but close enough. I think that the Commanders make this a close game. It's going to be a contested game, probably win by field goal at the most, by a field goal. I think the Vikings win by a touchdown over the Jets, and I think the Commanders win by a field goal over the Giants. So there you go. Tennessee Titans will be playing the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a A.J. Brown revenge game against the Titans. This will be the game where he breaks out and completely annihilates that Tennessee secondary. I think A.J. Brown gets 11 catches in this game for over 200 yards. I'm going to say 220 here. 11 catches for 220. He gets 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. And he can be in the argument right now for Offensive Player of the Year right now, along with Justin Jefferson, who's been a dynamite wide receiver for the Vikings this season. A.J. Brown could be chasing that right now. You can make a case right now for really at this point Mahomes or not even Mahomes. I'm sorry, Stephon Diggs as well. I don't know why I said Mahomes. Mahomes is going to be MVP. Josh Allen could be in that conversation as well as Offensive Player of the Year. Or not? Well, no, not really. I shouldn't say that. You can also make the argument right now for Devontae Smith, who's also in the chasing for that Offensive Player of the Year award. Nick Chubb. A variety of players, really. but I'm going to go with the Eagles winning this game, and they win it big. I think A.J. Brown has a great game here. I think Jalen Hurts goes off. Tennessee doesn't have much of a strong, dominant defense to me. Like, I think they just come in and when they make it convincing, they can make it convincing at home. On the road, I don't know. And Derrick Henry, like, I look at it like this. He had a bad game last weekend. You're going to get in there and get a very tough defense back-to-back. I just can't see Derrick Henry doing that great in this game. So I will say that Eagles win this game big. Deshaun Watson will be making his triumphant return to the Houston Texans, but not in a Houston Texan uniform for anybody who's been living under a rock for the last year and a half or so. He's now with the Cleveland Browns. He got the 5-year, $230 million deal, or does he? That's still remaining to see here at this point. Is this saga ever going to end with the Deshaun Watson story? He was actually on record the other day proclaiming the how he's going to be moving forward away from the investigation of the lawsuit. He's been advised by his lawyers not to talk about the therapy he's been going through and all that stuff right now and all that jazz. And this will be the game. And I was going to pick Houston here. I was going to pick Houston here to embarrass Deshaun Watson in his return. But the more I think about it, this guy is purely focused on getting his revenge for Houston. And I think realistically, if you got a quarterback right now who's going to just flat out just not even answer the media's questions about a situation, which Stephen A. Smith said it was stupid on First Take on ESPN, which I agree. It is 100% stupid. I mean, it's not going to ruin your game plan if you tell us what the situation is with your lawsuit. I mean, unless it's really private and it's really all this. I mean, is it none of our business? I mean, well, we'd like to know what the heck is going on with you. Are you okay? Are you back to normal? Are you still perverted? You know, that's a question that's on everyone's mind. We'll see this weekend when he runs into those girls this weekend. They're going to be protesting the game because 10 of them that testified against Deshaun Watson will be at the game. I don't think that will distract him, though. I mean, you are playing against a Houston Texans team that is trying to take. They have no Derek Singletary Jr., by the way. He's out for this game. It makes no difference. I think Kyle Allen is starting the game anyways, so it's not even like that Davis Mills will start again. Davis Mills lost his job, which I'm trying to figure out how he did lose his job in the first place. But it seems like now Kyle Allen will get the start right now for the Houston Texans, and I'm going to go with the Browns to win the game. I think Cleveland just comes out and just shuts them out. I don't see how Houston scores in this game. I think with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney just going to come in, and I'm going to proclaim this right now. This is it. This will be the game where the defense will steal the show. I'm going to say this right now. 13 sacks, and I think they get and they force negative 200 yards passing somehow, or somehow 100 yards loss of passing. I don't know if it can be. I don't know if that's a record that can be held here, but I could say right now 13 sacks is what I'm predicting, and 200 yards of lost passing yards in this game. I don't see how they don't do it. I mean, you go in there and make a statement like that and completely destroy Kyle Allen. What can I say? What can I say? The Seahawks are taking on the LA Rams minus Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford. Stafford was cleared of concussion protocol. Unfortunately, did not get the okay to play in this game. So Bryce Perkins will get the start again. I don't see how Seattle's a 7-point favorite here, and Bryce Perkins absolutely sucks for this team. The Rams will lose this game. I'm sorry to say this, but shout out to one of my favorite waitresses at Bose, Anna. She is a big LA Ram fan. Unfortunately, she knows they suck too. Yeah, LA's going to lose this game. LA will lose this game. I don't see how why they even bother signing Bryce Perkins. I don't know what's wrong with John Wolford. Is Wolford injured? Because to me, if he's injured, I get it. But there's no injury report that says that he is. He's not concussed. He's not hurt. I mean, I don't know what else to say here about this guy right now. He's got a raw deal right now with the LA Rams. He should be going somewhere else. Preferably backing up for the Patriots. They get John Wolford to go to New England at this point in a trade. That'd be interesting. At this point, I think the Rams should make a trade during the offseason. And I'll reveal that trade in just a moment here. But I think that the Seattle Seahawks will get the win here. I think Seattle takes their place right back in the playoff fold. I don't know I don't know how they're not in the playoff fold now, but they're not, which amazes me really. Anyway, Dolphins are at the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I think this will be an interesting game. It is Tua versus Jimmy Garoppolo. It's basically the 49ers Dolphins rematch from a couple of years ago when the Dolphins absolutely destroyed the 49ers in their place. This is Jimmy G's revenge game because this is the team. This is his way of saying, you know what, you got me embarrassed in my own stadium. Well, now I'm going to get my revenge. You got Christian McCaffrey in there and Deebo Samuel. They should all have breakout games. I expect that to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'll be stunned. I think the 49ers defense is going to get the Tua. The Dolphins offensive line is meh at best. They're not a breakout offensive line per se. But in this game here, I mean, they're jogging me to protect Tua, and I just can't see how they do it. I really can't see how the Dolphins do it here. I think Nick Bosa will be too much. You got Havalanga, the safety, and then the rookie safety. You got a good secondary in there. I mean, Tyreek Hill and Waddle, this is the biggest challenge they faced yet. A real tough, legit defense. Other than, I mean, I would say Buffalo was in that conversation, but I gotta say realistically, this right here, this secondary they're going against right here is the toughest one yet. So I gotta go with the 49ers here. This is gonna be a really hard game for them to swallow. This is gonna be a 2-touchdown loss. I'm gonna be realistic here. Tua's gonna have an off game. He's gonna throw a couple of picks in there. It's not gonna be his fault. It's just the NFL. It's just the nature of the NFL. It's who you're facing here in this case. And right now you're facing the one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL right now. Chargers, Raiders. I'm going with the Chargers to win. I was going to go with the Raiders to win here. I just can't see how the Raiders get the win here over against the Chargers. The Chargers get the sweep here. The Raiders, I think, are going to miss the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to make the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to go on a 7 or 8 game winning streak here because right now they've won 2 straight. They've been really bad this year against their division. Besides sweeping Denver, they really haven't beaten anybody else. That's the truth. That's the reality. So I'm going with the Chargers over the Raiders. We have another 4:25 game. We have the Chiefs at the Bengals. This is Jamar Chase's return. I believe Joe Mixon is also back in the game this weekend. Chiefs are 2-point favorites. I'm still going with the Bengals. I'm not betting against Joe Burrow. I did it last time when they faced the Kansas City Chiefs twice, and I was wrong both times. Joe Burrow has been phenomenal for this team this season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Mahomes has been phenomenal, too, for Kansas City. They've been both at the top of their games. Mahomes has got 29 touchdowns, 8 picks. Burrow's got 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. Mixon's got 158 carries for 605 yards this year, 6 touchdowns. Kelsey's leading is actually, you know what? I may as well say this right now. Kelsey might be in the running right now for Offensive Player of the Year. He's got 73 catches for 912 yards, 12 touchdowns receiving this year. Ty Higgins, who's been a great number 2 wide receiver, could arguably be a number 1 on this team with his 57 catches and 826 yards and 4 touchdowns. This is game of the week, realistically, this week. Cincinnati's at home. There's a chance for them to get their lead back in their division, even though they're still going to be tied with the Ravens anyway by default because the Ravens are going to win over them to start the season. So I'm going with the Bengals to win, and this kind of puts Buffalo back as a number 1 seed going forward because they got their first division win of the year. They're back in first place in the AFC East, and since they beat the Chiefs earlier this season, the Bills will be number 1, the Chiefs will be number 2. The New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay and Raymond James Stadium. You know, this is a toss-up game at this point. I was going to go with Brady in this game. I really was. I really was going to go with Tom Brady in this game, but I'm not convinced that Tom Brady's going to go in there against the Saints at home. Now, granted, the Saints, did lose last week in a shutout, 13-0. They are now sticking with Andy Dalton, which I have no idea why. You got a perfectly healthy quarterback at Jameis Winston, unless he's in the doghouse with Dennis Allen. That's the only thing I can come up with. But I think realistically, this will be the game where there'll be an upset of the week. I'm taking the Saints over the Buccaneers. I think Brady will lose another game. This does not hurt their chances of winning a division because their division's absolute dog crap. Yeah, I can't see Tampa Bay winning this game. I really can't. I mean, they could try and sweep the Saints. They have not done that, I believe, since 2008. If I'm not mistaken. But I think the Saints defense, they've always played mind games with Brady. The Saints have always had a really strong hold in Tampa Bay. They've always seemed to win there every single time. They've never found a way to actually win at home against this team, and I just can't see it here. I know it's on the grand stage. It's on prime time. Everyone's watching all over the world. It's on ESPN. But I just can't see realistically Tampa Bay, after the way they played last week against the Cleveland Browns, to go in there against another tough defense and try to, throw for big yards there in that game. I just can't see it happening. I really can't. So I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I may be wrong. I may be right. I kind of hope in this case, I kind of hope I am wrong about this game. So, we'll see what happens now going forward with that. We'll see what happens. I'm going to review the Utah-USC game that took place last night, Pac-12 championship game. Utah destroying USC last night. It opened up in the first quarter. Caleb Williams from the Utah 2-yard line, 2-yard pass to Taj Washington, making it 7-0. Later on the first, Lake Brown with a 3-yard pass from Caleb Williams, making it 14-3. And the Utah's possession, their first possession with the field goal. Second quarter after USC field goal, Utah gets in the game, gets on the board. Jaquan Jackson with an 8-yard run. Jalen Dixon, before the end of the half, gets a 4-yard pass from Cameron Rising. They tied the game at 17. And this is where the nightmares started to begin for USC. Money Parks gets a 57-yard pass from Cameron Rising. Very easy, wide open touchdown there. Jaden Redding with a 35-yard field goal, making it 27-17. Mario Williams getting into the game from Caleb Lewis. Gets a 12-yard pass from Williams, makes it 27-24. But this is where the game really went out of hand. Thomas Yasmin with a 60-yard touchdown reception. And Jaquan Jackson with a 53-yard run that pretty much ended the game. And really, to insult the injury, Micah Bernard with a 23-yard run. As Utah gets the win in the Pac-12 championship. They're now Pac-12 champions. They win 47-24. Cameron Rising went 22 for 34, 3 touchdowns for 310 yards throwing. Caleb Williams, 28 for 41, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. And Taj Washington for USC had 6 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. Money Parks had 4 catches for 88 yards and 1 touchdown. I actually thought Money was his nickname. I didn't really realize that was actually his first name for Utah. But this kind of limits him out of the college football playoff. And that kind of means now when they do the college football playoff ranking next week's ceremony, that they will have USC go down. Ohio State will go up as number 4 because they only have 1 loss this season. That was last week in Michigan. And this takes USC right out of the college football playoff, and this may put them in the Rose Bowl, which I don't know if the Rose Bowl this year will be part of the college football playoff or next year. But this will be now that USC will be partaking in the Rose Bowl, I'm assuming, unless they face Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. That's the only thing I can come up with. Sugar or Orange Bowl. I don't know who's doing the college football playoff this year. Is it Orange or Sugar this year? I have no idea. But USC kind of fell flat. I mean, I don't know what happened towards the end of that first half. I think what really changed the whole game was that 3-and-out. And they allowed that 14-play, 81-yard drive down the field. And Cameron Rising just went off in this game. I mean, he just took control. And literally on I think all 14 plays were all pass plays before the end of the first half. And USC's defense couldn't stop it. This was a game that was getting out of hand at that point anyway. I think USC just couldn't overcome the obstacle, even though they had the lead. They were up as much as 14 points. And they were outscored in the second half of this game 30-7. That's all you need to know. They were outscored 30-7. After the 10-point lead, they threw an interception. Williams threw it to intercepted by R.J. Hubbard, who made the pick. But it just, at the end of the day, Utah just did not look. Utah looked like they were unstoppable at that point. They did not have a weakness in them whatsoever. Now, I don't know if this means now because they won, they're going to the Rose Bowl here. I don't know what this means. This could possibly mean that. But this game was really out of hand. Utah had 35 running plays. They ran for 223 yards. They got 3 touchdowns out of it. They really allowed over 500 yards of offense. USC's defense did. They only had 27 running plays for 56 yards. They were out. I think they were outgained here. I'll give you the stats right now. 533 yards of total offense to USC's. I want to say this is 400. If I'm getting the math right here, 421 yards, I believe, in total offense, if I'm not mistaken. On the right here. Anyway, but USC just did not have it in the second half to come back and win this game. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. Got some more college football news to talk about, which is the news regarding Greg Roman, who is the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, getting the possible interview for the head coaching gig for the Stanford Cardinal after David Shaw resigned from his post. And this resigning surprised me for 2 reasons. Number one being, he should have never resigned in the first place. To have 2 bad years, I mean, I don't know if the guy was going to get fired anyway. I don't think he was, because he had such a great track record before those 2 losing seasons. He's been there for a long time. But if Greg Roman can't get a job in the NFL, then I think he should try to get his college football job. I don't see why he doesn't. I think realistically, it'd be a shame that if he didn't get the job at this point here, it'd be interesting to learn from a guy who was a former NFL coordinator, can turn that whole program around. I mean, I think it'd be very telling here at this point. Should I go to Deion Sanders? I think he's going to go for the Colorado job. I think he really is. I mean, some people are saying now don't go for that job. It's not a good idea, but you got to start somewhere. I mean, you're coaching Jackson State University, which is not really a big competitive school. Believe me, they have a soft league. He should go for the Colorado job. A lot of people are saying he should go to Stanford. A lot of people are saying he should go to the NFL. If you want to go for the NFL, great. My honest opinion right now is I think the Deion Sanders just needs to pump the brakes a little bit, get the college gig out of the way first. If you think you're excelling in that and you want to explore the NFL, then go for it. Greg Roman, who's a perfectly good example for a guy right now who should be an NFL head coach right now. But I think taking a gig here, explore your options, do this for the next 4 years. You can excel at that. I mean, he's not getting any younger. I get it, Greg Roman. Greg Roman's not getting any younger. Neither is Deion Sanders. But Roman should take the job. He should take the job at this point. I don't see why he doesn't take the job here. It makes sense here if he does take this job. He can turn that whole program around. They can go right back to winning again. And they can be competitive for once. I think Stanford, for the last few years, has not been competitive. I think David Shaw was burnt out as their head coach. And I think realistically, it was time just to end it there. Time to end it. Rip it off like a Band-Aid. So we have some college football games that are currently going on right now. Kansas State right now, possibly on upset alert, as they're beating number 3 TCU. Kansas State's number 10. They're winning 21-17, and they are driving. They're at TCU territory. Right now, they are driving down the field. Anyway, So TCU will probably get the W here. They'll probably pull the upset off. So who knows what will happen there. Kansas State though is a pretty tough team though. I mean they are looking for revenge after the last time they played. Dugan so far though not looking so hot. He's 12 for 23, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Howard's 14 for 22, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Did I say Dugan had 2 touchdowns? No, I think he had 1. I think I might have made a mistake. Anyway, the games that are still coming out later on today. You got the SEC title game. You got LSU and Georgia. That game starts at 4 p.m. Georgia is 17.5-point favorites. I already made my predictions on that one. If you've not checked it out yet, go check it out. It was on the last episode. Along with Central Florida and Tulane, they're also coming out at 4 o'clock. You got Purdue and Michigan on at Fox, and you have Clemson, North Carolina on at 8 p.m. So that will be very interesting going forward on how that will play out. Anyway, so yeah, that should be very interesting. See how this plays out. Very telling. That's it for college football. I think I might actually have some more college football news. And oh yeah, the transfer portal. That's what I meant to say at this point. A lot of transfer portals this week. Cade McNamara was on the transfer portal this week, along with Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine, Texas A&M quarterback Henry King, and Paul Tyson, who I think I may have mentioned on the podcast on Tuesday. And I will tell you right now, Cade McNamara has already found a home. He is going to Iowa to play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think Paul Tyson at this point, who's being transferred from Arizona State, should go and play for Texas A&M. I thought about this earlier today, and I said to myself, they need a quarterback that can actually throw. Henry King is not a good quarterback. He's not. This is why Texas A&M is eliminated from bowl games this year. He's not a good enough quarterback. Drew Pine, I think realistically, Bryce Young's going in the draft. I think the top recruit they brought in right now, I don't think is football ready. So I think Drew Pine should go to Alabama. I think it makes sense for him to go there. It does. I don't see how it doesn't make any sense. A lot of people are saying that, that Drew Pine should go somewhere where he would succeed. And I think realistically, for him to succeed, he needs to go somewhere where he can spread his wings and fly. It's the only way. I think, again, it does make things interesting. It does, of where he might end up going here. Look, I think realistically, Drew Pine going to Alabama would work to his advantage because he was never going to get the starting job from no, he would have. I'm thinking of a different quarterback. But Drew Pine at this point would be better off in Alabama because he's working under Nick Saban. Marcus Freeman can teach him all he wants. I think in reality, at the end of the day, is if you learn from one of the best college football quarterback coaches, you're going to be successful. You're going to be successful. Haynes King is his name. Haynes King. Haynes King, by the way, if anyone's wondering where he should end up going, I think King should end up going to Florida. At this point, Jalen Kitna, who was in the news this week for being arrested for child pornography, was dismissed from the team. I mean, it's sad to hear about that kid doing what he's doing, but to that I say I can't express this more than I have to here. And to that I say that guy's pathetic. Very disappointing for what that guy did, and to those out there, it's not right what that guy did. So don't fall into his path. But yeah, Haynes King should go to Florida. I think he'll learn better from there. Jimbo Fisher right now at this point is not the same Jimbo Fisher was in Florida State. I don't think he would have helped this kid out anyway. I think he was gunning this kid to lose his job anyway. So that's that. I mean, it is what it is. Anyway. What am I thinking here? I think that's really about everything college football news, unless there's more college football news that I'm missing here at this point. As I'm looking down right now, let's see. Oh yeah, Brennan Armstrong is also entering the transfer portal, the leading all-time passer for Virginia Cavaliers. Boy, I look at this and I say to myself, like, where would this kid end up going? Where would he end up going? Where would he be successful at? I think Louisville is the one place he would go into. Malik Cunningham is done with Louisville after the season. He'll be leaving to go to the NFL. Will he be a first-round draft pick, Cunningham? No. But Brennan Armstrong, I think, realistically, needs to go somewhere where it's still in the conference. It still makes it competitive. And he's going on a better team anyway because Virginia sucks. So, you want my honest opinion? Go to Louisville. Get better. Make yourself a number 1 draft pick. Make yourself a Heisman. Because I think with him going to Louisville, he'll become a Heisman. Believe me. So let's see. Cade McNair is going to Iowa. Haynes King will go to Florida. I had Drew Pine going to Alabama. Did I have a place for Paul Tyson? I think I had him going to Nerd. Oh no, did I have a place for him? I don't think I did. Paul Tyson. I think if I may not have said your name yet, I do have a place for you. I think you should end up going to. You should go to Colorado. We're going to lose at this point. You might learn from Deion Sanders. Running back for Michigan, Blake Corum, injured, out for tonight's game against the Purdue Boilermakers, and out for the remainder of the college football playoff. So he'll miss the rest of the season. He will miss the national championship game. He might win the Heisman. I believe he leads with 19 rushing touchdowns this season. But he's going to miss the rest of the season. Antonio Brown has an arrest warrant out from Tampa, Florida due to domestic battery. So right now he is wanted out in Tampa Bay right now. So if I'm Antonio Brown, if I'm in Tampa, Florida, I get the hell out of there. That's what I would do. College football playoff makes it a 12-team expansion beginning the 2024-2025 season, which means 12 teams. And the Rose Bowl will be part of that same conversation as well. So they'll be making the Rose Bowl part of the college football playoff, I think, within the next year. And the 12-team expansion will begin in 2024, which I think we figured was going to start. We didn't know it was going to be 2023, 2024. So that's going to be interesting. And so that is interesting. That's it. Lightning's Pat Maroon donates mental health charity after Bruins comments made about it. This was actually what happened here. He donated. I think he was making fun of the Bruins broadcaster, if I'm not mistaken, at their broadcasters comments about his weight. I guess he was basically calling the broadcaster unhealthy and fat. Maybe I didn't really hear what he had said, but yeah, that's the news there. T.O. in the news this is a story on ESPN talking about how he punched a man at CVS. Says he was threatened. Here's what the story is about Terrell Owens in the story. So retired NFL star Terrell Owens said a fight caught on camera in which he punched a man in a CVS parking lot was a result of an aggressor threatening him and a fan he was talking at the California store. Owens told the Associated Press in a statement that he acted in self-defense. Saturday night when the man, this was last Saturday night, by the way, this actually happened, when the man made an offensive gesture and threatening statements to him and a fan who approached Owens. The man approached him out in the store with the fan, and in an attempt to de-escalate the situation, he walked outside where the man followed him. The aggressor continued to threaten the fan as he did in the store. Owens told, once again attempting to defuse the ongoing situation, I placed myself between the fan and the aggressor. I made verbal demands asking the aggressor to stop his threatening behavior. Owens said the man swung at me first before he obliged to prevent the aggressor from becoming more violent. Basically he said he claimed that the man swung at him first. TMZ first reported this fight at CVS in Inglewood, California in the published witness video. It was unclear Wednesday when the police were called to the scene over the weekend. Police did not immediately respond to the phone calls and emails seeking comment. And it said, quote, like anyone else, I was making a stop at CVS and was blindsided by all of this, Owen said. Unfortunately, I had to act using self-defense to end threat towards myself and the fan. I will attempt to make positive from this negative experience. This is my take on the whole thing. Why on earth would you want to fight Terrell Owens? This is what I'm saying with this random aggressor. This TO guy, this guy who's just trying to get attention, trying to get a lawsuit, trying to make some money, trying to start a fight where he didn't need to here. And if you're on camera at a CVS, and every CVS has a camera, and you're caught on camera punching Terrell Owens, you are an idiot. That's all there is to it. You're a dope. No sense at all whatsoever to do that. There was no need for that. It was totally unnecessary. And I think it was totally out of line what the guy did. Totally out of freaking line. So we'll see what happens now going forward. I don't know what will happen here. But yeah, Terrell Owens at this point will be probably in the clear. I don't see how he wouldn't be in the clear here. That aggressor, though, will probably spend some time in jail. Probably do some community service. And probably if they show us on TMZ or Inside Edition or Access Hollywood or Extra, then the guy will look like a complete goofball. And we'll get his 50 minutes of fame, and we'll never hear from him ever again. And that's what we'll get here in this case. Aaron Donald, I think I already mentioned he was ruled out here. I think this is all the other stories I had. Tom Brady, amazed by Jalen Hurts' performance. He says, quote, he's playing at a very, very high level. They're a tough team. So Tom Brady praising Jalen Hurts' game this year, which he should be, because Brady this year has been dreadful this year. So that's good praise from one of the greatest of all time to get that to give that to Jalen Hurts. It's a lot of motivation to give to somebody. A lot of motivation. The Denver Broncos this week, half the team attended the birthday party for Russell Wilson. 27 players showed up out of the 53 that are on that roster. So that's happy birthday to Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, half your team doesn't give a crap about your birthday because they realize what a mistake they made in signing you. I feel like Russell Wilson has declined. Let me put it that way. I feel like he really has declined at this point. There's really no reason to have that happen to him, but it's stupid. It really is stupid at this point, Anyway, there was a report going on with the Denver Broncos. If we continue this story, that they wanted another star quarterback. They wanted Aaron Rodgers, according to a Newsbreak and ESPN, that they were targeting Aaron Rodgers at the time because Nathaniel Hackett and Rodgers were good. They were friends. And that's it. That's the news there. We got some breaking news right out of the gate here. I'm just getting breaking news right away. The Los Angeles Rams have placed quarterback Matthew Stafford on injured reserve. Expected to miss the next 4 games. Likely, let's be honest, he's going to be out for the rest of the year. He's on injured reserve. He's done for the year. That's what it means. There's no reason for this guy to play Week 18. So don't even bother asking him to play Week 18 because there's no point. Which means now the Rams will not win another game the rest of the year. They'll most likely probably have Stafford retire. Stafford might retire. You know what this tells me right here? This guy's been through injury after injury after injury. And I've said this before about Matthew Stafford's career. The guy's been injury prone. He has had some injury issues now for a while. This neck injury right now, this problem in his neck, you can blame it on our offensive line. LA might have just killed his career. The Rams might have just killed his career. And Matthew Stafford at this point, if he retires now and if his career comes to an end here, he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry, he's not. He's not a Hall of Famer at all. If he would have gone another 5 years, then maybe. Matthew Stafford should have gone to the Denver Broncos. That's where he should have ended up going. I don't know why he didn't go there. Anyway, there's some other baseball news to get into here. We'll get into some baseball news right now. Brewers, Wronski has become the CEO, the first female CEO in Major League Baseball, the only CEO. So that's some good news there. Tigers get Matthew Boyd back on the roster. They agree to a deal. The Red Sox got reliever Chris Martin under a 2-year, $17.5 million deal. They agreed on a deal as of yesterday. Also, MLB is planning to resume HGH blood tests. There were no positive tests in the year 2022. So that's some good thing. There was no drug usage. Colton Wong was traded to the Mariners yesterday. The Mariners send Jesse Winker and Abraham Toro to the Brewers as a gift in return. So good news for the Brewers there. Draymond Green was almost actually more baseball news. I'm sorry. Despite equal financial offer, this is recorded 98.5 of Sports Hub Online. The Red Sox lose out on a free agent starting pitcher, and as Elfin, who was a former Zach Elfin, he agreed to a 5-year, $40 million deal to the Tampa Bay Rays. And this actually leads into my next thing here, which is Xander Bogaerts at this point, who apparently is now interested in playing for the San Diego Padres. They are right now in line with possibly having Bogaerts leave the city of Boston to go and play out west for the San Diego Padres. And really in return, I mean, this is Scott Boras, his agent at this point, spewing this conversation at this point. They're nowhere close to a deal. Apparently, the Red Sox or Bogaerts at this point, they're so far apart. And to that, I say, if that's the case, time for Bogaerts to go. You don't really want to be there? Fine. I say at this point, I'm not saying good riddance to Bogaerts. I'm not saying he was a distraction to the team all year long. I think it sucks that we're losing him. But why even prolong it? That's the way I look at it. Why even prolong this whole situation? I mean, this whole thing to me, again, makes no freaking sense. I mean, I don't get how the Red Sox could be so far off from the deal at this point. And I think realistically, hey, I mean, he's looking at the whole Trevor Story situation, how he started out the year. He got a 6-year, $170 million deal. So it just, again, like it's not looking good. You know, it's not really looking good for Xander Bogaerts right now in the moment. It really isn't. So I don't know what's going to end up happening. I really don't know. I have serious doubts right now about this. About, Bogaerts coming back here as a Red Sox player. And the fact they couldn't get Zach Elfin. You had a chance, and this is a deal that's under $50 or $100 million. Zach Elfin at this point, I don't get how they lost out on him. He's not, is he worth a 5-year, $40 million deal? Maybe. He's not really blowing the world up like crazy, and I think realistically, the Red Sox kind of shot themselves in the foot here. I don't know. I think they're trying to rebuild. I think they're trying to rebuild with their prospects. I think they're trying to rebuild with with lack thereof of no talent on this team. It's kind of sad, actually. It really is kind of sad. To not get the pitcher that you needed here to help your starting rotation out at this point, and to lose out on JD Martinez, and now you're going to lose Xander Bogaerts to the San Diego Padres. You suck, John Henry. You suck, Scott Kennedy, Ian Kennedy. You guys are pathetic. You can't get Devers back either. You're screwing yourself. And they're going to hurt themselves in free agency. Believe me when I tell you right now, they're going to hurt themselves very badly in free agency. I don't see how they fix this. I really don't. I think at this point, when you lose out on a pitcher where I think realistically, if you think about it, it kind of sucks. Speaking of sucking, the New York Mets right now is having a suck bag day, because as of last night, it was announced that one Jacob deGrom signed a 5-year, $185 million deal to the Texas Rangers. So he is now a free man from the New York Mets organization. Jerry Jones responding to LeBron James' comment that had resurfaced at this point about the Little Rock photo. And this is what he had to say here. He apparently did not take participation in this whole thing. So he was just looking. He was just there, just out of curiosity at this point. He has love for LeBron. He loves the man so much, and he should have played tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. That's how much he likes LeBron James. Jerry Jones doesn't really get offended very easily by anybody really at all, especially if it's to a friend. Doesn't get offended by Dan Snyder and his dumb comments. Doesn't really get offended by LeBron. I bet anybody, LeBron James and Daniel Snyder have apologized so many times to one another to Jerry Jones. It's like it's really, is it really that much of a big news? LeBron James, who's comparing this to the Kyrie Irving situation, the anti-Semitic stuff, it's just he's got so much other focuses going on at this point. Does he realize his team sucks? LeBron, stick to playing basketball. Don't try to explore other sports, because right now it's making your team sucking. It's not a race thing. It's just you just got to keep playing basketball. You got to keep playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. Don't be unfocused. That's all I got to say. Don't be unfocused. Don't be an idiot. Anyway, I cleared my throat. Speaking of the Lakers, Draymond Green denies Lakers trade rumors, but acknowledges uncertain future, saying, quote unquote, this is a business. And it certainly is. Draymond Green at this point should be traded anyway. I don't know. I think he's holding his team back from excelling defensively and offensively. I think the fact that they sent James Wiseman back to the NBA G League just tells you right now that he's not good enough to be on this roster. So I think the trade has to happen. Draymond Green and James Wiseman have got to go. You want to bring in Karl-Anthony Towns? Do it. If you want to bring in Rudy Gobert, do it. I don't see why you don't do that. I think Karl-Anthony Towns needs to change the scenery anyway. Him going to Golden State might actually help his team win a championship. That's my take. Mark Cuban got rejected a Shark Tank participant due to the fact he had a Golden State Warriors logo. A little shade thrown there, according to CBS Sports. It was an article that was written by CBS Sports. That's so cheesy. It's such a tool-bag kind of thing to do if you're Mark Cuban. I mean, to be that shallow about it because he's not a Dallas Maverick fan, I just think that's kind of ridiculous. I think it's kind of outrageous that they actually even allowed that to happen. Rejected the idea. Maybe I don't know what the idea could have been. I don't know what the product even was at this point. So I guess the picture's from Ride Fresh, I guess, a Los Angeles-based company that produces air fresheners. When he was given the Warriors edition of the company's product, despite the Mavericks having beaten by the Warriors in the finals, Cuban quickly declared himself out of the deal, ripping the founders of Ride Fresh for what he called the dumbest marketing move ever. And honestly, at this point, I mean, it is kind of dumb on their part to come in there with a Golden State Warrior logo on there, just FYI. And they had to see this coming too. But at the same time, for Mark Cuban, you are kind of a tool bag for doing that. And you're the tool bag of the week. This is gonna be my new thing for now on this podcast now going forward. If I find a really dumb story here to talk about, the most dumb, anticlimactic, dumb freaking thing you could do to somebody, I just think that realistically, you're gonna be the tool bag of the week. Mark Cuban this week is the tool bag of the week. Chris Webber had a story that came out the other day that talking about how he thought he was going to be the Lakers, admitted that he did not want to be with the Sacramento Kings. This was in an article. Chris Webber, I don't know how he ever spent most of his career with the Sacramento Kings. I don't know how he spent the rest of his career other way with the 76ers. Past his prime, couldn't really do much of anything, along with Samuel Downber, who was in the same, situation he was in with Philadelphia at this point. He didn't really want to be there either. He came out with this the other day, and the first thing that popped in my head was, I kind of understand what he's coming from here, going from a struggling franchise here. But I think, realistically, Chris Webber wanted to go with the Lakers with Shaq at the time, and Kobe, and Derek Fisher, and Rick Fox, and it goes on and on and on here. Like the thought process. This would have worked out in his favor. Chris Webber should have gone to the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't see why he doesn't go there now. I don't see why he didn't go there in the first place. How the Kings organization never saw him wanting to leave there is beyond me. I just think realistically at this point, he meant he didn't want to go to be with the Kings to begin with. Realistically, he would have been more successful with the Los Angeles Lakers. He would have had at least 5 championships. He would have had at least 6. I think Kobe and them could have won championships together. There was times where I think Webber should have gone to the Kings in the first place instead of back in 05 going with the 76ers. Unless he went there a year before that, which I can't remember. I know Shaq left in 04 after the NBA Finals when they lost in 5 games to Detroit. But what if Webber been successful with without Shaq and just Kobe? I think if you brought somebody else in there who was just like, here's my theory, because I thought about this a long time. I actually thought about this when I was a kid, so I'm actually glad this actually brought up. Imagine a team after Shaq leaving for Miami, a team with Chris Webber, Yao Ming, and Kobe Bryant. Yao Ming could have been a dominant force and could have been a multi-time champion. The fact that this guy could not win an NBA Finals to save his life and had a great team around him that involved Tracy McGrady, Shane Battier, Ming should have found a way out of there. And I think if you added Tracy McGrady in that team with Kobe, with Webber, and Yao Ming, that would have been a dominant starting 5, and it would have spited Shaq. It would make Shaq look like a fool for getting himself traded out of Los Angeles. I don't think he really wanted to leave Los Angeles. Kobe said he kind of did. Kobe said he was sick of Shaq being around, really, and really didn't tolerate his, because he was mad that they gave up flat out to Detroit. And they would have had a chance that year to beat Detroit. Because that same year, I'm pretty sure Detroit that year was down 3-1 in the Eastern Conference quarterfinals against the Orlando Magic. That was the same year, I think, that McGrady was leaving for Houston at that point, because he was still with the Magic at that point anyway. But yeah, I mean, it could have worked out. Like Yao Ming could have been traded from Houston to Los Angeles. You could have brought in Tracy McGrady in that same deal. You would have packaged deal right there, and you would have had Chris Webber. That team would have been absolutely dominant. They would have been in the NBA Finals every year. And I think the one team that would have taken them down was a big 3. And I think at the end of the day, I think Yao Ming retired, I think, in 09 or 2010 anyway. Ming could have walked out as champion. Yao Ming could have walked out. The Lakers could have had at least – Kobe could have had 7 championships, surpassed Michael Jordan, one of the greatest of all time to do it. And Yao Ming could have had at least 3 or 4 championships. So could have Webber. So could have McGrady. And I think realistically, because I think McGrady was a shooting guard anyway, you could have gotten, you could have added a point guard in the whole mix and the whole thing. And I think realistically, you could have added a really good point guard. I don't know. I mean, you could have either had Jason Williams in there from the Miami Heat at the time. You could have had, who would have been a really good point guard at the time? I'm trying to think. Was Rondo? Rondo was starting to find himself in the NBA, but he was not like amongst in the conversation. Like he didn't become a thing until like 2007, 2008. So you could have picked him up over time. I don't know how that would have worked out for the Los Angeles Lakers anyway, but you would have had a really great team. That was and I said this to myself, a dream team right here that involved Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady, Chris Webber, Kobe Bryant. That was my first thought after Shaq left, because you still could have had your role players, but if you would have had that team, they would have three-peated. They would have repeated. They would have created a dynasty. They would have had more championship wins than the Boston Celtics would have right now. And I hate saying that because I'm just being realistic here. Because I don't think Yao Ming would have gone to Boston. I don't think Tracy McGrady would have gone to Boston. I don't think Chris Webber would have gone to Boston. Kobe would have stayed in Los Angeles, of course. But what if Kobe left? And another thing I thought of, what if Kobe left and went to Miami with Dwayne Wade, Shaq? That would be a big 3 right there. Dwayne Wade would have had more championship wins than LeBron. I mean, there's no other way of covering it. Because think about this at this point. Dwayne Wade has 3 NBA Finals championships. He won 1 with Shaq, won 2 with LeBron. He could have won more with Kobe. And then another fact of bringing this up, what if Shaq would have stayed with Chris Webber? I think they still would have dominated. They would have made things interesting. I don't know if they would have done they probably would have done more. They would have had like more championships won. In fact, I think they would have had their reign of terror would have came to an end. I think Shaq and Kobe would have walked out together in 2010 instead of Shaq retiring in 2010 and then Kobe retiring 6 years later. That I think Kobe would have walked out with Shaq at that point. And I think Kobe and Shaq would have been in the Hall of Fame together. You could have argued right now Kobe would still be alive today. So that's that. Foxborough Gillette Stadium will never host a Super Bowl anytime soon. It's just never. And I'm saying never because it's a long shot at this point. I mean, if the Kansas City Chiefs can't get a Super Bowl host in their stadium, then there's no point. What they should do first is host the NFL draft before they even think about hosting the Super Bowl. Let's do that first. Tennessee Titans has lowered the seat capacity of their new stadium. Their new dome stadium will take away about 5,000 to 10,000 seats. So instead of having 65,000 fans, we have about 60,000 or 55,000. And that's really the news this week. That's really it for the podcast today. Actually, before I go, we might as well get into some scores or do some NHL news as well. Actually, we got more stuff to talk about. What am I saying here? This show's not over yet. Showing over. I ain't going off the air just yet. We got some games currently going on later on tonight. You get the Bruins playing the Colorado Avalanche tonight. Defending champions go into Boston. Boston with their 13-0 streak at home on the line against the defending Stanley Cup champions from 2022. This is going to be one of the best games of the year. This will be a very high pressured game. This will be the most talked about hockey game of the entire season. I think this might be your hockey game of the year. I'm going to call it right now. I think the Bruins get the win. They completely make this an interesting game. This will be a shootout for the this will be the best regular season shootout in a long time. Like the most anticipated game of the year, the most talked about game of the year, the best team in hockey right now against the defending champions. This hasn't happened in Boston in a long time. Now, a lot of people are thinking right now, they have no shot going 41-0. Here's my prediction. I think they're going to get 30 home wins this year. 30 home runs this year. And I actually, in this case here, give them 33. 33 home wins this year. And that's it. Right? That's what they'll get this year. 33. They'll go 33-6 or no. In this case, it'll be 33-8 this year. I don't think they're going to go undefeated this year. In fact, if they did, they'd be considered one of the greatest teams of all time. And I heard this argument the other day on Felger and Mass the other day. And the first thought that popped in my head is that they really just, Mass was like sick of the record at this point. They wanted the record to be over with, it to be less pressure at this point, to be less of a distraction. I look at it like this. If having 13 wins to open up the year and you're only like about a month and a half in the season right now and you're already distracted by that record at this point, then you're not a good team in the first place. They're not thinking about that record right now at this point. In fact, that record is beneath them at this point. They want to prove that they can win with what they have for talent. And they have a talented team. And right now, surprisingly, they're one of the better teams right now in hockey. Tampa Bay right now is, beneath them at this point, which is very shocking to say at this point because I thought last year the Lightning were above them. Now this year, they're beneath them. The Maple Leafs are kind of in there in that same conversation right now is one of the best right now for the Bruins. If not them, then the New Jersey Devils at, what is their record this year? 19-4. So really, the odds are right now is they're going to probably go – one of these teams will get to 20 wins first. I think they both do it tonight because they're playing the Flyers tonight, the Devils. You got the Blackhawks playing the Rangers. I'll give you my picks right now for these weekends games coming up here. I'll give you the Bruins over the Avalanche, the Golden Knights over the Detroit Red Wings, the Oilers over the Montreal Canadiens, Penguins over the St. Louis Blues. The Blues ain't going to do much of anything this year. I'm going to go with Maple Leafs over the Toronto Tampa Bay Lightning. I think the Maple Leafs need their revenge here as possible right now, and they need to prove a point right now of why they're better than the Lightning. Wild are up 2-1 right now. I think the Wild beat the Ducks. The Ducks suck. They're going to suck for a long time. Ottawa Senators are going to be the San Jose Sharks. I got the Rangers beating the Blackhawks. I got the Capitals beating the Flames. I got the Kraken beating the Panthers. I don't always bet on the Kraken here, but this is the first time I ever will bet on the Kraken here. The Kraken will beat the Flames, beat the Panthers. Capitals will beat the Flames. I already mentioned them. Canucks will beat the Coyotes, and the Kings will beat the Hurricanes. You got tomorrow's edition right now. The Red Wings are on the road in Columbus. They're playing the Blue Jackets. Sharks are playing at the Buffalo Sabres. You got Blackhawks playing the Islanders tomorrow. The Islanders are going to win tomorrow. The Blackhawks are just going to have another bad year. That's it. They're not going to make the playoff run this year. And I think the Stars beat the Wild. That's the Sunday's edition. I'm not going to get into Monday's edition, although if you're following me on Instagram, you'll see the scores for those games. But the Bruins are back in action on Monday. They play against the Knights. The Avalanche will play the Flyers. The Capitals will play the Oilers. Blues will play the Rangers. Coyotes will play the Flames. Canadians will play the Canucks. Go check the app on ESPN. I will put it on my story of every single game that will happen going forward. So that's that. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna pretty much do it for the hockey stuff right now at this point. That is my hockey preview for all you people out there. I think we have more. I don't even know with baseball. I'm looking at the NBA action from last night. The Celtics losing last night to the Miami Heat after their back-to-back on Wednesday when they won, and Tatum went off and had 49 points in front of the Prince and the Prince. I think it's the royal family came in for a visit around the town this week. Give me the scores from last night's game. Heat beat the Celtics 120-116. Nets got the win last night. They won 114-105. Pelicans beat the Spurs 117-99. Warriors beat the Bulls 119-111. Hornets beat the Wizards 117-116. Hawks beat the Nuggets 117-109. Cavs beat the Magic 107-96. Lakers beat the Bucks 133-129. Grizzlies beat the 76ers 117-109. The Rockets beat the Suns 122-121. Jazz beat the Pacers 139-119. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But yeah, very interesting turn of events that happened within the last that really happened within the last 24 hours. So that's that for basketball. So far today, the Dallas Mavericks beat the Knicks 121-100. The Kings and Clippers play later on tonight at 4 o'clock. Magic Rapids play at 8 o'clock tonight. You got Thunder's Timberwolves playing at 8 o'clock tonight. Rockets Warriors on at 8:30. Bucks Hornets play on in about a few hours at 6. And Trailblazers play the Jazz at 9 o'clock tonight. For Sunday, you got Suns Spurs. You got the Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. I believe this is officially their first matchup of the season. So there is no Ime Udoka controversy. There is no Ime Udoka on the team. And I just realized it is dark in here, so we need some light in here. So we need 1 second. 100 episodes into it, I should be able to put some light in here. Oh my God, it's too bright. All right. The hell that light? That light sucks. The light sucks, but the camera's great, so that's a good thing. I just realized this too. I was going on like an hour and like 13 minutes now talking right now, and I said to myself, why the hell is it so dark in here? Grizzlies play the Pistons tomorrow. You got the Nuggets playing the Pelicans tomorrow. Cavs and the Knicks tomorrow. Lakers on the road in Washington tomorrow. Both of the Kings and the Pacers are at the Trailblazers. So Portland is falling apart beyond the seams right now. Take a look at the NBA standings here. Obviously, Boston's the best team in the NBA with an 18-5 record. So they deserve that. The worst team in the NBA, I believe, is the Orlando Magic. The Trailblazers, who were at one point in the top 3 in the Western Conference standings, has now dropped down to 11th. They are now 11-11. They are 4-5 at home this season. They've lost 3 straight games. Their last 10 games, they have gone 2-8. So they have not been a really good team. The Kings and the Warriors right now, they're at 8-7 right now. Dallas and Minnesota are both tied at the 9th spot at 11-11. Portland's in a 3-way tie with them as well, 11-11. The Lakers are not that far behind. They're 9-12. So they got something going on right now at this point. The Suns, however, though, are I don't know what. Oh, so I'm using my ESPN app here, my laptop here. That's programmed to my phone. That's plugged in. To look at the standings right now, the Suns are 15-7. The Nuggets are 14-8. The Pelicans are 14-8. The Grizzlies are 14-13-9, and the Clippers are 13-10. The Jazz are 14-11. So that is your top 6 in the West. Really, as far as the East goes, It's 6-1 this weekend. It's Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics this weekend. This is one of the big games of the year, surprisingly. Yes, Brooklyn right now is 13-11. It is considered one of the big games. But you got to look at it like this. This is a tough division. It's a division battle between these two teams. It's really the big two, I think, in this case, versus the Boston Tea Party, which I would call that Brown, Tatum, Horford, Smart, Brogdon, Blake Griffin, Noah Vanilla, and unfortunately, if Robert Williams was going to come back here, which there was news this week that he is going to come back in late December. He'll probably be back for Christmas Day against the Bucks, but it will be Robert Williams too. Unfortunately, he's not back yet. It's Mazzulla versus Vaughn. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Very telling how this week plays out going forward. Getting an other right now with Kansas State and TCU. TCU is now down by 8. TCU just finally got on the board. They got a 42-yard field goal from Kell. And they are now on the board. It was 28-17 at one point. Now it's 28-20 with about 7:34 to go in the fourth. Max Dugan, 17 for 34, 256 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Has been sacked once in the game. This might be his, least. Might be one of his worst games this year, but yet he's been playing pretty damn good. I mean, for a guy right now who's really, I haven't seen him have a game where he's thrown 17 more balls for incompletions than anything else in all season. So this is a good humbling experience for Duke at this point, and they lose today. And I think realistically, it does hurt their playoff football chances. It really does. So hopefully they don't lose today. I don't want that to happen to them. Pirates All-Star center fielder Brian Reynolds are requesting a trade. They'll have zero impact on the off-season plans going forward. He is requesting a trade. I think realistically, if he does want to trade out of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you can't blame this guy because he's on a crappy franchise that nobody cares about. The city of Pittsburgh doesn't care about it. The ownership of the baseball team doesn't care about it. It's going to happen. He'll get traded. Brian Reynolds should end up going. If there's one team he should end up going to, it's the Red Sox at this point. They could use another outfielder at this point, a really good outfielder, a really good Gold Glover at this point. I don't know if he is a Gold Glover. I don't have the stats in front of me on that guy. But, yeah, I think Brian Reynolds would be a really good addition for the Red Sox at this point. I don't see why he wouldn't be. Speaking of the Red Sox, they're trying to target right now Ryan Hennigan's the All-Star slugger for the Texas Rangers, who back in 2020 had over 40 home runs. So he may get to be with the Boston Red Sox along with Brian Reynolds. So hopefully that happens. I have my doubts. There was some news this week about Vladimir Putin, who, according to some doctors, and this was according to the New York Post, is going through some terrible health. Apparently, he fell down the stairs and soiled himself after he fell down the stairs. So we have Joe Biden falling up the stairs, and we have Vladimir Putin falling down the stairs. Great. Very interesting. Very intriguing. I just got this report as I was starting the podcast earlier, and I was having some camera difficulties the first time I was trying to record the podcast here. But, yeah. We got Vladimir Putin soil himself. At least Joe Biden hasn't done that yet. The day's going to come right now where Joe Biden's going to soil himself on live TV. It's going to happen. I guarantee you. So, anyway, that's going to do it for the show. Actually, no, before we leave, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. We got to talk about FIFA World Cup. I just realized that just now. I just realized in my head right now there was something I was missing right now, and it's the FIFA World Cup. We got to talk some FIFA World Cup here. Some action that took place yesterday. The round of 16 had started. USA has been eliminated from the round of 16. Yeah. They lost to the Netherlands 3-1 as of today. An embarrassing loss. Memphis Depay, Daley Blind, and Denzel Dumfries. That's right. You're hearing that name right. That's actually the name of the Netherlands player who scored a goal today. Denzel Dumfries got one of the goals today for Netherlands. as Haji Wright got the goal for USA, the only lone goal here, but it was to no avail. Netherlands had this game running away. Argentina right now currently up over Austria right now. They're up 2-0 right now. They're in the 65th minute right now in the game. Round of 16 continues tomorrow in France and Poland, and England and Senegal. Japan and Croatia play on Monday, and Brazil and South Korea play on Monday. On Tuesday, it'll be Morocco and Spain, and Portugal and Switzerland. That will be playing on that day. No Mexico in the tournament. Unfortunately, Mexico has been eliminated from the tournament, along with the following here. I think Mexico was eliminated. Mexico was eliminated. I think Germany was also eliminated today as well. Belgium was eliminated. Canada was eliminated. I believe. I think Switzerland was also. Or no, Switzerland wasn't eliminated. It was somebody else that was eliminated from that. Denmark was eliminated. Tunisia was eliminated, and Ecuador was eliminated. So was Uruguay and South Korea, who also are eliminated from the tournament as well. The round of 16 ends on the 6th, and the quarterfinals, which will begin on the 9th. So that will be very interesting there when that will come about. I still have it being Brazil and Spain. I think that will probably end up being your championship, and I think Brazil wins. I mean, for USA to lose today was kind of disappointing. It did kind of suck, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do? It's a shame that the USA is not going to advance and go to the quarterfinals, but it is what it is. Ronaldo this week got into a shy match with the South Korea goalie. I guess the South Korea goalie was insulted by what he had said. I think Ronaldo was also insulted by what he had said as well. So the two went back and forth. Who knows? Maybe they'll hug it out in the next World Cup tournament when he plays for Saudi Arabia, if he ever does. And we're getting some news now on ex-Red Sox slugger signs with AL East rival underwhelming stint in Boston. So former Red Sox outfielder and first baseman Franchi Cordero has signed a deal with the Baltimore Orioles after an unsuccessful post-trade stint, which I'm not surprised because I kind of figured Cordero was going to end up going to Baltimore anyway. So, and honestly, he really wasn't that big of a piece to this Red Sox team. He really wasn't. I mean, he was key in some certain situations, but he wasn't like the prized possession that Boston needed. He wasn't the face of Boston. He wasn't that big of a player, not that big of a name. So it is what it is. The Chaim Bloom experiment is officially broken because one of his key guys that he thought would be good for Boston is now going to be playing with the Baltimore Orioles. Way to go, Chaim. Way to go. And that's really about it. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Snapchat. You can follow me on, at this point, I might not even do TikTok. But if you want to follow me on TikTok, go right ahead. I'll do a TikTok soon enough. That's really about it. You can follow me on Bleacher Report, which I have not been active on that as of late. I've been having trouble with the app for some strange reason. But yeah, I will be active on that as soon as possible. So that's that. I'm going to sign off. You can follow Mike on his social media. We'll be back next week. I told him to take the day off because he had a project to work on, so that was important. That was more important. This is the 100th episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm sorry it was a little bit long. Had some stuff I had to report, so I couldn't wait any longer. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Deuces.